Hello and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where last time we began the trial for Lord Van Zieks in the fourth case of the game, and honestly, kind of underwhelming, no lies told. It doesn't quite seem to have the high stakes that something like Turnabout Goodbyes presented, where it felt like a constant tug-of-war battle to whether he actually was innocent or not. Here, within the first 5 seconds, we were kind of like, oh, so he's, like, totally innocent then, with no room for doubt whatsoever. But, you know, it's still early game, we're still early in the trial, so who knows what could happen later today to mix things up a little bit, so let's keep going. November 2nd, 12:33 p.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Oh, there you are, Aldo. Yeah, by the way, you never explained how exactly you got into the courtroom. She just kind of teleported into the scene yesterday, and the whole thing, I was under the impression that it was supposed to be still like a closed circuit trial, but then magically out of nowhere she just teleported to the witness stand. I assume it was because she was stowing away somewhere, but I don't know, we never got an explanation. Maybe we're gonna get it now. What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes and Gina.
You sure about what you said in there? That the boss, acted on the day before? It's pretty hard to swallow.
Is it?
Yes, I was shocked with the revelation too, Gina.
Were you? As was I. Well, you are not surprised by. That's kind of par for the course. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. It doesn't surprise me at all that Sholmes would be shocked by that revelation. But I was more shocked than all of you put together. Okay. This is the autopsy report in question, is it? Yes, it's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose it's a simple explanation, or perhaps it was a deliberate omission.
Oh dear, if it was deliberate, it puts me in mind of the last case we worked on, and Dr. Scythe.
I know. Anyway, it seems that on the day before Lord Van Zieks discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, so perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it. You had trouble with those League men too, didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick. No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in, as you put it. My sleuth-hound interest was merely piqued solely by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. And that scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose.
The two criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? And Mr. Sholmes is sweet, I mean. That's right, Suze, and it was me who took him in. Thanks to a tip-off by a good law-abiding citizen.
Indeed, yours truly. So it's going to be that pair in the witness stand next, is it? Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had trouble with the Red-Headed League yet, had you? Why would the inspector have been investigating them? Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuth-hound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income.
Don't tar him with the same brush as you, Sholmes.
Yeah, no, don't drag him down to your level, please. Yes, well. Then there's the whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zieks for some reason.
The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zieks.
And Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we'd arrive at this point somehow.
Gosh, I think you're right.
What's he really trying to achieve here today? Oh, the answers will soon be revealed. Will they, though? Because, I mean, so far so far in the game, because the first game did a thing where every trial was 1 day long, which led to some really rough pacing issues. But this game's been much better with them. This game is reverted back to the classic formula of investigation, trial, end of day. Next day comes about, investigation, trial, end of case, which works much better for pacing, so it's not all crammed into the same day. So I don't know about the whole we're gonna get all the answers today thing. I don't know about that one. Observe the time, my dear fellow. This rest recess will be over very shortly. Yes, you're right. Does it seem like Sholmes is less important in this game? I don't know why. I feel like Sholmes did more in the first game. Which is, I mean, no complaints from me. The less I have to deal with Sholmes being an idiot, the better. But, you know, it kind of feels like he might have, like, there isn't, obviously excluding the dances of deduction, there don't seem to be many instances, or at least there haven't seemed to be many instances where Sholmes does things, I guess. I don't know. Because he was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial, and he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Are you ready then, Mr. Sato?
Yes!
Ah, they all say that. Everyone always thinks they're ready, but then the trial begins, and oh, they never are. No one is ever ready for whatever the hell is going to be thrown our way this time. November 2nd, 1 o'clock p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court hearing of Eric Van Zeeks, here present, who stands accused of murder. Now then, Prosecutor Asogi.
My lord?
Have you summoned the witnesses as requested?
Yes, the two members of the Red-Headed League who planned and carried out the deception. They arrived not long ago from the local prison by police carriage.
Very good. Bailiff, usher the two men into the courtroom.
Hello, old friends. Great, so previously, because we lost Gregson with his infinite fish and chips machine, now we have whatever your name's gonna be with the infinite spaghetti plate. These two men are currently being held by the police on the suspicion of attempted extortion. You may omit your occupations, but state your names now for the court. Sorry, I guess I'll just... Because my accent was so great last time, I guess I get to bring it out again. Because I definitely didn't butcher it the last time I tried doing this song and dance. Okay, here we go. A descendant of the great Zeus family from Nice in France. And my name is Peppino de Rossi. Oh god. I'm going to offend so many people. I'm going to offend so many people with these accents. I'm so sorry. I apologize in advance. Oh no. I am the third son of the great family de Rossi, the landowners from Napoli. The two men first became acquainted at a boarding school for European nobility. Those who graduate from Temsic as the future leaders of Europe. But, do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with this noble blood? Alas, I make it my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little grey cells of my Who are you, Hercule Poirot from Agatha Christie stories? Use those little grey cells. Hastings. That is all I'm trying to do, eh? So, that's the only reason for this whole grand deception you've been carrying out? Oui, you could say that. Not bad, eh? Yes, the grand ideas, but the petty plans. The strange combination is of the charm of the Hilarious Brothers. Oh, they're called the Hilarious Brothers. Get it? Because hair. It's funny, and you should laugh. See, Capo? Listen to me, Peppino. I have two things to say to you. Are you about to tell me one of your grand anecdotes? Evviva! Firstly, I want you to stop calling me this Capo. And secondly, we are not the Hilarious Brothers. This is serious business. Shibello, there it is, the Capo's trump card, the furrowed brow. It is deep, Capo, the furrow and the meaning of your words. Oh god, this is so bad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to all of you watching this. I'm butchering this so badly. I warned you guys earlier that I couldn't do these accents well. I can't do them well at all, but the dialogue, like, almost necessitates it because of the way that it's written. So it just, this is not good. This is not going very well. Oh, please let this be the only trial in which these characters appear.
The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Red-Headed League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is this true?
Oui, c'est ça.
And what exactly was the nature of this deception by which you planned to defraud?
Alors, I will explain it. No, Capo! Leave it to me! As you see, we both have the vivid red hair, no? At school, we were teased for this without pity. The Capo here, he was many times behind the schoolhouse, crying like the Trevi Fountain. Those dogs, one day, she will respect the redheads. Every night, he would bury his head in a pillow.
Suspend, Peppino, enough. I will explain the rest. The first step was the newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London. Yes, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe. Oui, c'est ça. I'm honored that you have seen it. It says that the only condition for joining the league is having flame-colored hair, and that if you satisfy the interview panel and are admitted into the league, you could receive a weekly income of £4. On the date specified, red-headed hopefuls gathered in droves at a park specified in the advertisement, and from each person present this pair took an application fee of 5 shillings. And with the money to France, it was a plan most elegant, no? No, it was most dishonorable, but to be frank, I'm stunned anybody was foolish enough to be taken in with such an obvious trick.
park was described by one witness as choked with red-headed folk, like a Custer's orange barrow.
And the day on which all these men gathered to reply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these two men spoke face to face with every single person that day.
I have seen more red-headed people in one day than I will see in the rest of my life. See. And now, every time I see the couple's hair, I feel sick to my stomach.
Anyway, why have we been summoned here today? Sorry? The date for our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told. Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. They've only been shown this photograph. Very good. So, Mr. DeRose and Mr. DeRossi, you will now give your full testimony for the court on the subject of the gentleman pictured in this photograph.
Of course. We're always ready to help with the law.
Oh, this is so bad. This is going so badly. Oh no, this video is gonna be me butchering accents and then apologizing profusely for butchering said accents. This is not going very well. Oh god. We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled in the park on Lime Street that day.
But I don't recall the man in this photograph. Capo?
No, I don't remember him. Obviously, he is dead now. But I assure you, he was not in the park. Really? Really? He was not in the park. Are you sure about that? Are you absolutely positive about that? Are you 100% positive that, because you said you spoke face to face with every single person, and yet you didn't see him despite the fact that he was wearing this? Are you absolutely sure about that? You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. Yeah, I have some questions. You've given sworn testimony that this man in the photograph was not present. Can you be certain?
I am quite certain. We did not interview this man. Nobody looking like this I came into the park, and this I can promise.
It must be noted that you have been arrested for a grand deception, however. Accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances.
Uffa! With this attitude, we get to nowhere, huh?
He's really a sulking now. This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry from the inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads, Lime Street, Red-Headed League, undercover.
Ah, I have the answer. Maybe there was a similar event in the park on the day in question, That is ridiculous.
What? When your own testimony partner is striking down your comments, maybe you messed up somewhere along the way. There's no question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, which means it's quite possible that that's when he was killed.
Very well. The friends may proceed with the cross-examination now.
Ah, yes, my lord! Okay, if I can talk in my normal voice for a change. Oh boy. So, question 1. I need more details, because you say, obviously he's dead now, he was not in the park. We know that's wrong, so try again. But according to what you said, you spoke with 1,000 more people that day.
That's true. My eyes are burning by the end of the day.
Surely then, you can't actually remember every single face. How are you so certain that this particular man wasn't present?
Normally, the redhead is very distinctive, But not when you have 1,000 redheads crowding around. Then it's just an eyesore.
It's hard to forget Inspector Gregson. It's really hard to forget the man who obsessively eats a never-ending supply of fish and chips. I feel like you'd probably have remembered that.
But if there was some other information you could give us, then maybe we could recall.
Okay. That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we do not remember him. We are sure of that fact. Okay, maybe don't admit that you are running off of pre-rehearsed scripts when you're talking about testimony.
If there was a man with a red hairpiece, but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think I could have forgotten him.
Kazuma said that these two had only been shown that photograph and they'd been told nothing else at all. But what if I fed them just one other detail about the victim? For example, it's an option. I can pick it. I can pick fish and chips. But I think that's probably the meme answer, so I think if we want to be serious about this, we should probably give him his profession, because I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember the situation. But what if I told you that the man in the red hairpiece was actually a detective?
The man in the photograph? A detective?
Yes. It would appear he found your notice in the paper you suspicious and decided to investigate incognito. Sorry, but this changes. Oh, are you sure about that? Because your friend over here seems to think differently.
Excuse me.
Something to add, Mr. DeRossi?
Che? See, I'm always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper.
What I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance?
Eh? What did he just say about the detective?
Yes, that. Keep your mouth shut, Peppino. You have said enough already.
But why, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I am an inspector from Scotland Yard.
And just, yeah, see, because, like, again, the meme answer is to pick fish and chips. I do wonder if that would have also worked, but obviously the go-to answer would be to pick the most noteworthy thing about him being that he is an inspector from Scotland Yard, which evidently turned out to work pretty well. Yeah, remember that thing you said about how you didn't know who he was? Yeah, well, guess what? That just crumbled to pieces all around you. I gotta say, the whole thing about group testimony, because I've held this position since I played the crossover last year. I've never really been a big fan of the group testimony thing from a gameplay perspective because there really is no player agency. Like, every single time someone else reacts to what their group testimony partner says, it's always, in no uncertain terms, the correct choice to question them further, which doesn't really leave a whole lot of room for players. Like, it's not a question of, do I press them now or do I not? Because there is no situation in which questioning them further is not the optimal strategy, so gameplay-wise, it's always been a letdown. But story-wise and narratively speaking, it's always very satisfying to see a pair of individuals just rip each other to shreds, and you don't even have to do anything. You just say, hey, remember when you said that and you said that? Yeah, fight, and then my work here is done. It's one of the reasons why the summation examination works so well, and that's really what it should have been. That's what group testimony always should have been, is the summation examination. Because that actually gives complete and total agency to the player, but I digress, I suppose.
Order, order, order. Explain this volte-face in your testimony, witness.
It's simple. A man who was at the park said to us that he was an inspector.
There was no such man. Obviously there was.
My dad, what are you saying, Capo? Have you forgotten, eh?
I have forgotten nothing. Nobody like this came to the park.
Basta, Capo, basta. You beat me at many things, but not two. The memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is a faster.
But you are inferior to me in every other way, so shut up. Oh, double slam? Okay. The damage is done, yeah. Not only do you have the defense slamming the desk, you have the prosecution slamming the desk. I don't think it's ever happened that both the defense and the prosecution is slamming the desk simultaneously. You know you messed up big time if both sides are slamming their desks.
Oui, there was a man who came to the park and said he was an inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. It was someone else.
How can you be so sure?
Because, to start with, his face was completely different. See, it's true, it's true.
You know, I'm inclined to not believe that, considering the fact that up until 10 seconds ago, you were adamantly denying the fact that you had ever seen the man at all, so your credibility is I mean, it was shot the moment you walked through the doors because you're already you're being indicted for a grand deception, but your credibility has somehow sunk even further because you lied to us, we exposed your lie, and now you're like, oh, okay, so that was one lie, but here's another lie that definitely this time I'm actually telling the truth. It's like, no, that's not how this works.
His face was clean shaven, his eyes were sadder, his chin was thinner.
No resemblance whatsoever, then.
Anyway, I was not going to be fooled. I took the obvious precaution and said to him, if you are really a detective, show us the proof.
See, the capo here. He didn't take no nonsense, eh?
But he was well prepared. He said he had identification. Identification? You mean official police inspector's identification?
That is most unconvincing.
Sorry, my lord?
Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question.
Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity? Clearly, the papers were fake.
Sergio Capo, you are a genius! As we say in Italia, it takes a thief to recognize another, eh?
And what happened after we announced that he was a detective?
It became very annoying. He said, you are under investigation.
So I took his papers from him and chased him out of the park.
It was fantastico! And look, here is the identification.
So, you stole it from the man.
He had it coming. He made us very scared. But he was not who he said he was.
I feel like my accent is getting worse and worse the longer this video goes on for.
Indeed, the person described does not appear to have behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence.
but I like them. Now, too bad, they're going to be pivotal to the case, and you know the drill, everyone. As per usual, always read the... Oh, I thought this was actually going to be a piece of paper we could read, not a physical object to inspect. Okay, well, in that case, let's open it up. Well, I suppose we should see what this inspector's identification looks like inside. And we can read it further. Yes, it definitely looks fake, doesn't it?
Out of interest, what name is given?
Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's... Well, there you go! Yes, you remember when I said that if you lied once, there's no way you wouldn't lie again, especially when you were adamant to hide it in the first place? Yeah, and just like that, your whole story is shot. Okay, well... So, remember in your testimony when... hold on, let's actually return to the witness testimony. Okay, so remember when you said the victim has nothing to do with this? Yeah, well, that's obviously a lie because you handed us the proof that you met with the man. You gotta try harder than this, buddy. Come on. You gotta do better than that. I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade? What, is she still in the court? Okay, now, I guess maybe she's just... part of the, I don't know, I guess she's one of the members that was invited to be a part of the closed council. Because I was under the impression that outside of the judiciary you weren't allowed to be here. Why, Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, counsel? Is this really a fake, or is it genuine? That's the question, which we can't answer ourselves. Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen. I mean, I don't think you really allow things to be stolen. It's kind of implicit in the definition of what it means to steal something, that you don't allow it to take. You don't allow the removal of this article from your person to take place. It's kind of implicit in the word steal.
That is the boss's! No question about it!
It can't be! Well, too bad it is. As I suspected. The undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League's enrollment on the day in question was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation! Zuelos! Great, okay, well, one's dead, so now we just gotta knock down the other one, and then we'll be home free, and then we can move on, because once we get both of them down and out for the count, then we're like, hey, look, they just crumbled into themselves. Is that enough proof that they're just big fat liars? Order.
But if the boss said his identification stolen, it would have reported it straight away. I mean, he was always on at me about it. If he let someone report it once, he'd say.
Could it be, then, that the inspector was physically unable to report it?
Physically? Wait, what are you saying?
Unable to? You're not suggesting. Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had the chance to report his identification stolen. No! Or perhaps yes. Still kind of confused as to how Gene is in the courtroom, but we'll let it slide. Order. The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that?
I know nothing. I don't know nothing.
Pull yourself together, Peppino. Mon Dieu, you can behave a little more like a master criminal than that, no? Wait, how old is this guy supposed to be? Because he looks rather young. Oh, all right then. Okay, so I was gonna dismiss his like naivety with the whole like, what are you talking about? Of course, I met the guy the other day, and I was gonna dismiss that with, you know, being a kid. But nope, he's a full-fledged adult. So yeah, you have no excuse, buddy. You're just pathetic. Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, are you both gonna...
Newman, stop your whining and stop talking!
You both gonna burst into tears now? Look, I'm sorry your logic and argumentation was so horrible that I could shatter it to pieces instantly, but it's not my fault you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Oh, dear God. But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome.
You will dry your eyes and testify again about these identification papers and the precise circumstances under which you came by them.
Oh, dear Lord. For crying out loud. Oh, good Lord almighty. Okay. The detective and the identification.
The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day just in case. We took the man's identification from him and shot him in the room next to ours.
There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go.
You spent that night in a nicer room. It was nothing like a prisoner, really.
Whether it looked like one or not, what you were doing, you imprisoned him. No, you're not getting around that one, buddy.
This is outrageous! You imprisoned the man?
But no, see, no. It was not like...
I don't care if it was like prison or not. You literally imprisoned him. I don't care if it's a fluffy, if it's a fluffy rainbow unicorn cloud room. I don't care how nice the amenities were. I don't care how clean the bathroom was. It's you imprisoned him. It doesn't matter if it was like one or not.
He was very comfortable and calm and happy. Hey, Capo?
Stockholm Syndrome. What? It was never part of my plan, I swear it.
Uffa, so, you think it was my fault, eh? Just because I got the date of the ferry wrong. By one little...
The date of the ferry? Wait, what? Wait.
No, por favor, Capo, it's not fair.
What?
You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen.
Oh, I don't believe this. How could he have been a real detective?
Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination.
So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined in this pair's hideout. And so the plot thickens. Okay. Well, clearly these two aren't gonna dry their eyes anytime soon, so I guess we'll just have to... So let's see if they can hear us through their incessant waterfall pouring out of their eyes. Alright, so question one I have is in regards to you saying, might have been a little tussle. Define little tussle. I need more than that. What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? Oh, it was nothing. Just a minor incident. If you thought to mention it, it was definitely more than nothing. What happened?
It was a disaster. We gave him a nice room, and what does he do, huh? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape through the ventilator.
Can you blame him? Yeah, so clearly, remember earlier when he said that he was really comfortable and he loved it, and he loved all his really cool amenities? Yeah, well, obviously not if he tried to escape. You idiot. We chased him, bien, sir, and we caught him again.
Can you blame us?
Yes. We absolutely can. Wait! You didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? Who do you think we are, criminals? Of course not. I simply caught hold of him again and took him. Oh, lies. I love it when your own partner does all the work for me. I don't have to do anything. I just have to say, excuse me, and then you just crumble instantly. Mr. DeRossi, is something wrong? Me? Something Mr. DeRose just said seemed to make you, seemed to make you act even more strange than usual. What was that all about?
Cavalo, at times like that, you don't want to have the capo after you, believe me. And I speak from a personal experience.
Personal experience? That is enough, Peppino. There is no need to say more.
The truth is, the night before we put the Red-Headed League plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the capo, but I tried to run away.
It's a shame you didn't manage it.
But the capo here, he came after me like the turbine, eh? And they dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruises to prove it. Aye, capo?
Bruises, you say?
You don't want to see? No, we don't need to see your bruises. I promise, it's not, you don't need to. That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you.
What to do, huh? I assure you, I don't,
You do! Now! I don't. Okay. I guess we're... Oh, Jesus Christ, that... Yeah, so I didn't... dear God almighty. That red ring around your neck, you got that when you were driving back to the house? We didn't need to see this. That's just that's just awful. That's enough. Peppino's neck has nothing to do with what we are talking about here. You have I don't see why... What did he say? Sometimes he's very rough. Okay, what does that have to do with anything?
Yes, what is your opinion, counsel?
About the red ring around Mr. DeRossi's neck, I wonder, does it matter? Is it supposed to be important? I guess it's important. I mean, if ever they ask that, it's never not important. I don't see why it's important. Mr. DeRossi, I'm going to ask you to amend your testimony with details about the mark on your neck.
Aye, Capo, you see? Everyone is interested in what I say, huh?
No, that's not it at all. What you say and what you say is not hinging on you being the one to say it. It's what you said, not the who. Okay. He tried to escape, but the captain put the collar on him and dragged him back like what he did to... Oh, so what he did to... Okay, so that would be... Okay, because the photo doesn't have it... Okay, so this isn't supposed to be him. Okay. Got it. Okay, so this is supposed to be him. Right. Okay, I understand now. Okay. So I didn't know what the hell the point was, because like, all right, why do I give a shit about your bruise on your neck? Like, obviously it's sad that he did that to you, and I feel bad for you and all that. But like, in regards to Gregson, why do I give a shit? And the answer is I shouldn't. But then you told me that he was also dragged back in the same caliber as you were, meaning that he should also have the bruises on his neck, but he very clearly doesn't. Of course, that begs the question of if it's not Gregson that took pauses, then who was the... Oh, it's the guy with the weird lip. He had the 360 red ring of death around his neck. He had the red ring of death. Oh, okay. Props to you, game. That's a very small detail. I mean, it's a big detail. It's a ring around his freaking neck, but it seems so small and insignificant. But that's gotta be why it's there, because he had his name was literally Gossip, wasn't it? Yesterday, he had the red ring around his neck. It was there for a fleeting moment. It didn't last long, but he had the red ring. He had the red ring around his neck. If I can speak properly, so that's what it was. He was the imposter. He was the one who assumed his identity. That's when they took hostage, because it clearly wasn't him. Because if it was him, then he would have the red ring around his neck.
Objection.
I mean, it's a lot thinner than the one we see here, but still. So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. It was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was only... You keep saying that, and yet he tried to escape, you ding-dongs. However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains.
What inconsistency is this, counsel?
I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson. You will see that there is no red ring visible around his neck. He has not yet been plagued by the torture of the 360, which you don't know what that is yet, and you won't for another couple centuries, but you know what I mean! But that makes no sense. The 360 has not been invented yet. We don't even know what the red ring is. It was me who took the collar off of the man in the morning, and I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have. Given that the mark is still clearly visible on this witness's neck, we expect to see bruising on the victim, who was put in the collar more recently than Mr. DeRossi.
Indeed. This is most peculiar.
But what do we tell you, We say this from the beginning many times, Pepperino is right. The man in the photograph is someone different to the man who held captives at night. Okay, so then I'm not going crazy, right? Can I check the court record and see if he actually does have that bruising around his neck? I'm not just losing my damn mind. Yeah, it's right there. There it is. It's right there. Yep, I knew it. I knew it. I knew he had it. It's there around his neck. You can see it's very thin. It's barely there, and there are other features above the neck that seem to distract you a bit more, but it is there. It is there. It's around his neck. And that's what it is. That's clever game, clever, taking really small details and making them play later. I like it. I love it. It's always nice when the smallest of details have the most significant of payoffs, because you never think twice about it until it hits you right, like really hard as to why it's there at all. It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as an incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all. If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? This is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made the assertion itself.
And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the Red-Headed League in his diary for the day. Which surely means we can't divorce the two events completely.
The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation. But equally, if they actually encountered an imposter, how did that person come to be in possession of the real inspector's identification? Does the defense have some plausible explanation, counsel?
The whole thing defies explanation.
It is for precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo, because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie.
No, the facts can't lie. Even when they point to something so incredible, it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by the information in the court record, I believe.
Good gracious.
Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So, why don't you help us all to see whatever truth it is that you've apparently seen. Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before? I'm not making the Among Us reference. He was an imposter. I'm not doing it. Don't even try. Though it seems incredible, I admit, the undeniable facts point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson.
In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time.
On the contrary, I haven't finished.
What?
There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification? See, that's right, we tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, the couple dragged him from a pillar to a post with a dog collar.
Mon Dieu, Peppino, I was not harsh, as you say. Hmm?
So who was that false inspector, eh? Who was he?
Clearly the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night. I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson?
That would be, for as insane as it might seem, none other than Gossip himself. His name is Gossip.
Goodness me, isn't that?
One of the witnesses who was in the stand in this very courtroom earlier today. A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passers-by.
What on earth would a street seller be doing with a police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses, is this the man or not?
What has happened to his lip? Ah! See, this man is not for the red... this man is not for the Red-Headed League, eh? He's looking for the Twisted Lip League, no?
Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead.
It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising.
What?
The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand!
Order, bailiff. Bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom, immediately.
Hey, buddy. Welcome back. I still don't know what the hell happened to your lip, but I don't know that I want to know.
Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed, and identical to that of the witness beside him.
Now what's going on here, eh? I've always had this ring. It's a birthmark, isn't it?
A birthmark, you say?
I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you.
It's something about an inspector again, but I'm telling you, you got it all wrong as usual.
As usual, you have not been paying attention if as usual is what you say. Remember when we destroyed your guys' testimony yesterday? You were denying all knowledge of it?
Well, of course I am. Are you trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh?
No, that would be a different game that tried to do that to me. Well, at least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. And you, Mr. DeRoos and Mr. DeRossi, I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice? We're in bigger trouble, eh, Capo? You are always in big trouble. You're just now in bigger trouble.
That's quite enough dilatory chatter. Proceed with testimony.
Okay. Witness testimony. The inspector and the identification revisited. The man who claimed to be an inspector that day was definitely not this man. Remember earlier when you said what happened to his lip, almost as if to imply you had seen him before? Is right, see? You would think I would have forgotten these grand lips, eh? Obviously, you didn't forget them if you commented about them.
I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I've never joined any redheaded league. I'm all alone in the world, me. I've no kinfolk or nothing, or I'd be involved in something like that.
I'm gonna get you to tell me.
I don't think I could carry off a disguise with a face like this.
Well, I mean, depending on the story behind that lip, it might actually make it easier, but we'll have to find out. I need to get more information out of that statement where you're like, well, what could I possibly have to do with this? Meaning you definitely do have something to do with it.
What have I been telling you, huh? There was no need for this pointless testimony.
Yeah, you just wait for my cross-examination. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here, friends.
That's right. I'm just a simple peddler, remember? Fresno Street's all I know. How would I have come by a police inspector's identification book, eh?
Well, yes, that's hard to explain, but...
A brief cross-examination, I think, counsel. Very brief.
Isn't there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be onto something?
I stand steadfastly at your side as always, Mr. Naruhodo.
Because she's the best character in the entire series. Okay. You know the drill, no contradictions, just a burning desire for more information. So, you've heard of the Red-Headed League, had you?
You don't get a name like Gossip for nothing, eh? It's my business to know what's going off in town. I sold that tasty tidbit to a fair few redheads who came past me. Just between us, I even got sandwich to cough up for it.
Yeah, remember when you EA microtransactions me yesterday? Yeah, that was fun.
Well, he does have a very red nose, if that counts.
Who knows? That's funny.
But as you can see, my own ear's not got a hint of red in it. And in any case, Presto Street's my patch. You won't catch me shuttling off to some other part of town.
Oh, hey there, buddy.
Excuse me.
You know something? Mr. DeMoose!
Oui? Can I help you?
Did Mr. Goss's words just now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps?
It was the other day when I was looking for a place near the park. A small house or something.
To be the headquarters of your Red-Headed League, yes.
I visited an housing agent on 9th Street, and there I saw him. This man was paying money to the agent. What?
Mr. Gossip with the housing agent?
Why? Oui. He had some kind of contract in his hand, and they were clearly discussing terms. But, no. You're mistaken, chum. I've never left Fresno Street, me. Like I said before. You mistaken me with someone else. Someone with the same face.
No, the captain was right. I remember it too. You was paying the man with the banknotes. With notes?
Like I said, that wasn't me.
I was curious why this man with dirty clothes had so much money, so I looked at the name on the papers. And what name was written? Mr. Gossip. Imagine buying a house and you write the name. You write the name Mr. Gossip. He tells you that he has no name, but in fact his name is a Hugh Boone. Oh, is it now? Is it now? So your name is Hugh Boone, is it? Well, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but if your name is Hugh Boone, that's a lie as well, because who do we know Hugh Boone to be? Who do we know? What relevance do we know Hugh Boone has to the story? He's the man that rented out that room that we investigated in and where we found Gregson's body, which also happens to be the room that contains a portrait or a framed photograph of Mrs. Vigil, who we know to be the wife of the now missing in action Daily Vigil, who now that I'm actually looking at it, how the hell did I not see this sooner? Their hair, their hair, yup, their hair, even their collar. How the hell did I not see that? That is... Alright, you know what, the first trial was really underwhelming, but this trial's pulling out all the stops. It's nothing like mind-blowing, but it's just really clever setups and payoffs. That's really clever. That is really clever. Hey, I got some great news for you, Miss Evie Vigil. We found your husband through extremely unorthodox circumstances, but we found him. Well, zippity-doo-dah.
I'm a peddler of tidbits of information, like I said, on Fresno Street, and that's that. I don't much like folk talking about my personal life.
Yeah, well, too bad, because we got a whole lot of info on your personal life. Like this, where'd it go? Here it is. Like this dismissal notice, for instance. How you were all rights for defendants to pay no financial benefits fully revoked. Yeah. We know a whole hell of a lot about your history with these people.
I don't much like folk talking about my personal life.
Indeed. And it is not the intention of the court to invade the privacy of witnesses. Very well. I shall respect your wishes, sir. The aforementioned name shall be redacted from all court records of this trial, assuming no objections.
You don't know what game you're playing if you say no objections. I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object. As is in my nature, because the name just mentioned has a very deep significance to this case.
Good gracious! Do you similarly object, Prosecutor Osogi?
As it happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings.
Well, I never! In what capacity?
Hugh Boone, the name of the leaseholder of the room.
Let me put this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room. That wasn't even... My mind was more focused on the fact that we found her husband, since that was kind of what this whole case started off as. I suggest, sir, that you start talking.
Well, alright. I suppose that might be the case, eh?
Yeah, you're all focused on something very different than what I'm focused on right now. So your real name is Hugh Boone?
Well, just between us, I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but there's no finer peddler tidbits in town. So I happen to be able to afford a grubby little room in a fallen down backstreet townhouse.
You do?
And once every 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the ladies on Lime Street. I remember now. There were 2 vulgar redheads in there last time.
Aye, if either of us is a vulgar, it is not me. Shink again, Peppino.
Why didn't you bring this up before?
It's like I told you already. I don't like talking about personal life. I'm a tidbit peddler as far as everyone else is concerned. No fuss.
Yeah, well, we know that's a lie and we can prove it.
You will update your testimony to include this most surprising revelation, Mr. Boone.
If I must.
Oh, you must. You must, because we have proof that you're lying yet again. I rent the room where that fellow was found as true for what difference it makes. Oh, I'll tell you what difference it makes. Does this woman look familiar to you at all?
Objection.
That last statement was did it? Is it in a number of ways, you say? That's right, my lord. In a number of ways.
Perhaps it would serve you well.
Are you... People! Are you kidding me? We know the man that rented that room is the Mrs. Vigil's husband. We knew that from the minute we walked through the damn room. What do you mean it has no relevance? Of course it makes a big difference. Are you kidding me? Really? Alone in the world, you're not... Let me guess. If I try it here, will it work? Oh, joy. Happy, fun time, happiness. Of course it works there. Great. If you have no kinfolk, as you put it, then explain why it is that among the sparse furnishings, we found this photograph in the room. Ah. I presume, as you've been renting the room, that this photograph belongs to you, does it not? Oh, Mr. Boone, drop the pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are!
I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler. I keep telling you so. You really don't need to bother with me. Please, just leave it alone.
As the man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth is about this man's life, it has no bearing on the case. No, because it simply is not possible that he impersonated Inspector Gregson. How can you be so sure? Just look at the man. No amount of disguise could ever hide those unmissable features. But what if we were to look at this the other way around? What do you mean?
Yes, counsel, what do you mean?
Well, there's no denying that Mr. Boone's lip is very prominent indeed, but consider the possibility that this prominent lip is itself part of an elaborate disguise. Then hiding that prominent feature, in other words, revealing his true face, would make an utterly impenetrable disguise. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Hugh Boone? Getting there.
Witness, are you still hiding the truth from this court?
Of course he is.
If that's a disguise, then underneath it, his true identity must be...
Yes, that's right. There's really only one person he could really be. My lord, the defense believes it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court.
No, please, no.
Very well then, counsel. What is the true identity of the...
It's obviously one Mr. Daily Vigil. That's not you. That's not you either. That's you.
Take that!
Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, isn't it, Mr. Daily Vigil?
I don't recall that name, counsel. Who is this Mr. Vigil?
It's a name I encountered yesterday, my lord. It has to do with a certain client of Mr. Ellock Sholmes. A young gentlewoman came to the detective asking him to locate her missing husband. The woman in the photograph, in fact, that is Mr. Vigil. Mrs. Vigil.
What?
From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. But of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the 2 red-headed League men. And last night, you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation for testifying in this trial, because we've been led to believe that you, Miss Venus and Mr. Sandwich, were all homeless. Being important witnesses in this case, we needed to know where we could find you, of course. And that explains why you've not only been unable to return home, but also unable to contact your wife, who's been beside herself with worry, waiting for you at the Vigil residence.
No, you just hold on a minute. I know the first time.
What I'm talking about? Really? It's a simple enough matter to confirm my suspicions. All we have to do is pull off that disguise!
No, please.
Bailiff, bring soap and sponge and a washbowl at once. Mr. DeRose and Mr. DeRossi, you are restrained to witness.
You're gonna ask them, really? You're gonna ask them to, oh dear God almighty. You didn't have any better plans than this? Maybe the bailiffs? You didn't, okay. Feel like feel like there were better options available for restraining him than the two criminal witnesses, but okay. Yeah, I had a feeling. Because I started thinking about it earlier, I kind of alluded to earlier, is like, well, depending on what the story's on, because I'm thinking like, wait, you know, it's possible that thing's just fake, which, because obviously, if that's fake, then it's obvious, then it's easy to conceal that when you're trying to disguise yourself as someone else. So I had a feeling, I alluded to it earlier, and it turns out that was correct. So, yeah, probably should have picked someone else to help restrain him, but you know, there's the truth, I guess.
Well, we are now seeing your true features, I presume.
Lift your head, sir, so the court can see your face.
It would appear that the defense counsel's assertion was entirely correct. This has all been a very elaborate deception. So, witnesses, tell the court. Have you seen this man before?
I don't believe it, but... See, there is another question. This is the inspector we saw in the park.
Extraordinary!
On the day of the Red-Headed League enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Gregson who appeared before Mr. DeRoos and Mr. DeRossi in the park was you disguised as the inspector, or rather, was you posing as the inspector in no disguise at all. Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barclay Prison.
The chief warder? Then your career had promise. Why? You would quite possibly have become the future governor of the prison. What on earth have you been doing peddling tittle-tattle on Fresno Street?
Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison. 10 years? Yeah, we know your whole life story, buddy. There's nothing you've hidden from us. Well, I mean, there probably is, but in terms of your story there, I think we have a general idea.
I'm really dreadfully sorry about all this. Yes, it's true. I am Davy Vigil.
And you were the chief warder at Barclay Prison 10 years ago. So where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from?
Boone is the other me. It's the name I invented.
Well, all names are invented, but, you know.
Well, evidently there is a great deal under the surface here.
I'll explain everything. I'll tell you just how wretched my life has become. As you say, it was 10 years ago now that my employment as Barclay's chief warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. But times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. In desperation one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street.
But your wife appears to know nothing of this. She still maintains that you are the chief warder of Barclay Prison.
I was utterly determined that my wife should not know of my failings, which is why I've never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name of Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street.
The scene of the very crime we're investigating.
Yes, that's right. A place from which I could emerge every morning at 8 as a squalid peddler, and transform myself back every evening at 5 into a well-dressed man and about town before returning home. That quickly became my daily routine.
I was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room, but that explains it. But why on earth didn't you just tell us this in the first place?
I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons, and without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them.
So instead you decided to conceal your occupation from them?
Yes. I've made such a terrible mess of everything.
Still, one thing doesn't add up. No matter how many tidbits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you couldn't hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison.
Very true. To have kept your family in comfort despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment.
That was all thanks to Inspector Gregson.
What, Inspector Gregson? What on earth?
It was some years ago after I'd invented Boone and begun my life as a street seller. The inspector, that is, recognized me one day.
Do you mean to say the victim was an acquaintance of yours?
Well, that explains where the impersonation came from.
I knew him from my time working at the prison. When he saw what I'd become, he was deeply troubled for me and my family, and from that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. Then one day, He asked me if I would carry out a secret assignment for him. A secret? What was it? I was to impersonate the inspector.
What? Impersonate him?
We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me. Visit Orxie's tomorrow and take a statement from the proprietress. It was always something along those lines. Surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was.
So, question. What are the chances that we've met, when we've previously met Gregson, it was actually him? Is it possible that throughout any of those instances that we've spoken to him, it's actually been him? That's interesting to think about and kind of disturbing actually to think about.
My instructions were to make an impression, to let people know that Inspector Gregson had been at work. And for those services, he compensated me financially.
A Scotland Yard inspector willingly relinquished his identification into your care with intent to deceive? That, as I'm sure I need not point out, is a very serious criminal offense.
But why? What was the point of you impersonating him?
I truthfully do not know. All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions. Now remember, Vigil, I need your solemn word. You don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever. Even if, well, if I end up a croaker.
So about that. Poorly aged things.
In time, he started to bring papers with him to the room as well. It became something of a second office for him.
Yeah, because I don't know why the prosecution thought for even a split second that Van Zeeks would have been the one in that room when the board was all about himself. Unless you were trying to paint him as a narcissist, but even then, it's clearly a board of someone trying to solve something, not someone trying to praise themselves. Like that was just a really silly thing to assume. The person who claims to be Inspector Gregson in the park alarms was really...
Yes, it was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I removed my boom disguise, and then went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification book. It never occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away.
Okay, I'm actually, like, deeply troubled with the thought of having possibly encountered Gregson when it wasn't actually him. I mean, it depends on how good this guy's disguise is. We haven't seen that in action yet, but it's actually kind of troubling me to think about. Well, it would seem this confession completely destroys the defense's case.
Yeah, about that.
Explain yourself, Prosecutor Masogi.
My learned friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed at another location on the day before his corpse was discovered, at the hands of these two red-headed leaguemen when they imprisoned the inspector.
But no, that can't be. After all, it wasn't the inspector who went to the park that day, it was me. Oh, goodness! Finally, we have clarity. We had nothing to do with the murder of the inspector. And mercy, Monsieur the defense, for proving it. What? Ah!
So you rise from the ashes to me, then? You did a rise from the ashes in evidence room.
Order, order, order. Indeed, it would appear that we have reached a de facto conclusion of sorts. These witnesses had no involvement in the murder of the victim. As proven, somewhat ironically, by the defense.
Ugh.
I hereby call an end to the cross-examination.
Yeah, so about that. Oh dear. Pardon me, my lord, but with your permission, I would like to pose one further question to the witness. Kazuma!
What question, counsel?
It concerns the events of 10 years ago. I believe you would have been present at a very significant execution that was carried out at the time.
10 years ago? The execution of the professor, Genshin Asogi.
I want to know exactly what your involvement was. I think I can take a guess. Answer me, man!
One moment, counsel. Is this related to the current case?
Naturally. It is the prosecution's belief that this case and the events of 10 years ago are inextricably linked.
Does the defense concur, counsel?
Kazuma, you're not yourself. You're not as calm and collected as usual. Poor Kazuma-sama. No wonder he's acting this way. Mr. Vigil's memories of what happened 10 years ago would tell the tale of Genshin Asoki's last moments. His own father.
I know, I do understand that, but even so... Prosecutor Asogi, do you genuinely believe that this question requires an answer in order to learn the truth behind Inspector Gregson's death? I need you to trust me. Please. Okay. Where we go? Very well. The defense has no objection.
I see. In that case, you won't answer the question, witness.
The truth is, I remember very little of that time.
Well, then allow me to give you if that's the case, then good news for you. You don't have to remember, because we have a little something that might just be able to jog your memory, buddy, and it's called your dismissal notice that details exactly why you were let go. So, if you can't remember, then maybe this little note will do the work for you.
I'm sorry to say, yes. As I've said, I resigned from my role to prison 10 years ago. But for some peculiar reason, my memory of the events leading up to the moment is extremely hazy.
Yeah, I don't buy that for a split second.
Does that not strike you as strange, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry?
Well, 10 years is a long time, but to have forgotten the reason why you left such an important job.
Yes, you're right. And not only that, Mr. Vigil's claims contradict what we already know. The human spirit is a fragile thing. It's broken all too easily, which is why we have a tendency to wrap it up for protection.
Sorry? The human spirit? I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean.
When we experience pain and suffering that we feel unable to bear, we block it out, obliterate it from our memories, seal it away. Yeah, that's... I've heard that, and I don't deny the existence of people's ability to, like, seal away painful memories, but I've never experienced that. In fact, still to this day, there are things that have occurred in life that just bring up nothing but pain and suffering in terms of memories that I just can't forget, and they're embroiled in my memory. And in case you're gonna... I'm not strictly talking about that series of playthroughs. I'm talking, like, in real life things that have happened over the years. I can't forget things that have happened to me. That's just not how my memory works. So, yeah, those are stuck in my brain forever, and they're not ever going away. So, I get that like, distorting memories and purging them is a thing whenever you go through something painful, but I've just never experienced that, ever. If the seal is broken, the memories resurface, and when they do, that fragile spirit may finally be crushed. Like, I've never had to, like, I've never experienced burying memories due to emotional trauma or something like that.
Kasuma-sama.
But if it must be crushed, then so be it. Because the truth will not stay buried. It's coming out, one way or another. Right. Now I understand. It's clear what his intentions are. He means to expose the truth at any cost. Perhaps if I pointed out the contradiction of what Mr. Vigil claimed earlier, it might cause some crucial memories to return to him, but should I? Of course, obviously present the evidence. I have no idea how this is going to go, but this is a court of law, and I have a duty to pursue the truth. Mr. Vigil, I'd like you to look at this. Evidence that clearly contradicts your version of events. Just a few moments ago, you made the following statement. I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago.
Well, yes.
In other words, you claim to have left the post of Chief Warder of your own volition.
Well, yes, of course. Why?
Tell me. Do you remember seeing this document before?
No, I don't.
This is a dismissal notice ordering the immediate termination of a prison staff member's employment. A dismissal notice? And the name on the notice is yours, Mr. Vigil.
What? It's mine?
So, you didn't resign from the prison service at all. For some reason, you were dismissed.
No, there's been some mistake.
Yeah, your mistake.
I'm sure I turned in my resignation. That dismissal notice is nonsense. Isn't it?
If you were forcibly dismissed, there must have been good reason. Clearly, you did something. Mr. Vigil, it's time to break the seal and have you remember. According to the few remaining records, the final execution that you supervised was on the 17th of June, 10 years ago. And on that day, something very serious took place at Barclay Prison.
The 17th of June.
Was that? the professor's execution? Come on, getting there. As you were the chief warder at the time, it stands to reason that you would have been present throughout the proceedings.
It does sound familiar.
And yet, that execution never took place. The convict ostensibly executed earlier that day later re-emerged from his grave.
The convict came back to life.
In the cemetery in the middle of the night, there was a witness.
However, the witness claims that a moment after he saw the convict clambering out of his grave, a gunshot rang out from over his shoulder, and the bullet pierced the professor's chest, killing him instantly. Those may have been the professor's actual last moments.
Yes.
Seeing as you were in charge of overseeing executions at the time, you must know the truth about what really happened. It's in your head, somewhere deep down. Well, Chief Warder Daily Vigil, I know there are memories in your head that can explain what happened on the 17th of June 10 years ago, and now it's time for you to drag them up! Mr. Vigil? Come on. Bring him out.
Yes, the whole prison, it was complete chaos.
Details, all of them, now, give me.
The prisoner escaped. He was killed in a cemetery. He escaped. The shocking news ripped through Barkley like a hurricane.
What? He did, what? He did what? Okay, rewind. Order. He escaped? Wait, so he wasn't, do you mean to say, Mr. Vigil, that your memories at the time of return? Yeah, keep talking. Keep jogging the memory.
My head itch. It's like some floodgates have opened. The images, the screams.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, just keep talking. We gotta keep him talking. We gotta keep the memories coming.
The papers. There were reports, articles about a man who'd seen a ghost.
Yes, and a Trevor. But surely those reports were exaggerated.
And there were traces at the scene.
Traces of what?
In Lowgate Cemetery at plot number 139, blood, lots of blood. That's where the man was buried, of course. Obviously, something terrible had happened there.
The depths of conspiracy and depravity from which this tale is emerging are quite staggering.
I've reviewed the police records from that time extensively. A thorough investigation was conducted by Scotland Yard to ascertain how the convict managed to escape in the first place. And the conclusion reached by the investigating team was that a member of the prison staff must have been involved.
Are you suggesting that a prison warder abetted the man's bid for freedom?
Yes, and I was suspected of doing it, of using that mass murderer's execution as a way to help him escape.
You did what?
I remember now. The horror of it is all coming back to me. One evening, a few days after the execution, some detectives came to the prison. I was called to the governor's office at the top of the watchtower.
Oh great, this guy again. I'm sorry, Daly. This is serious business, but I cannot help you now. As Chief Warder, you were responsible for overseeing the execution of four, eh? Well, it seems the fellows at Scotland Yard want to have a few wee words with you about it. You'd better pack your things, laddie. You're to attend in person.
As soon as you told me that, my mind just went completely blank. And the next thing I knew, The professor.
The most hated killer in our country's history.
And I let him escape. I'm finished. My life is over.
You did what? What the? What is happening right now? You did, wait a minute! Okay, when I said keep him talking, I didn't mean keep him talking until he passed out. That's what I was worried about. Because he kept spinning further and further, I had a feeling we might reach a breaking point.
Course driven today with immediate effect.
No, don't you dare in there, don't you dare. No, don't even try. Don't you dare in there.
With Mr. Vigil's collapse, just once again overshadowed by the legacy of that notorious killer, Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Vigil, Kazuma, and Gregson. all of them bound by invisible chains anchored to the same wreckage in the murky depths of the past. But the miraculous light that had been trying to cut through the gloom and shine on those tragic events was playing on the edges of the truth at last.
Don't you dare end there. What the hell? I guess that's one way to end a trial. Okay, wait. Oh, wow. Okay. So, we need to recap very quickly. Okay, so first, all right, so let's, I guess, I don't even, okay, so I gotta be honest, the main mystery itself, like, it had a cool payoffs, it had a few setups and payoffs there in the middle there, with, you know, the reveal of who Daily Vigil actually is, but the main mystery regarding whether Van Zieks actually did this or not, it really doesn't feel like they're, because the whole reason why I was so hyped for this trial is because the stakes were through the goddamn roof. Gregson's the killer, Kazuma's the prosecutor, and Van Zieks is the defendant. And while obviously Gregson has a big role in it, and Kazuma has a big role in it, Van Zieks, you kind of can forget he's even here. Whereas Edgeworth, again, I keep going back to Turnabout Goodbyes because it's so, like, it's clearly the parallel they're trying to draw here with Edgeworth and Van Zieks being the prosecutor that you defend in court. You never forget that this trial is about that trial is about Edgeworth, ever. He is the core, the beating heart and soul of that case is Edgeworth. So you never forget that. But here it's like, you're defending Van Zieks, but really he could just be anybody. And again, like I said, it was kind of revealed in the opening seconds that obviously he didn't do it because he felt that the barrel of the gun was cold. And then you kept getting more and more evidence that obviously wasn't him with the time bomb with the candles and moving the floorboard around and the fireworks going off and everything. And it's just, you kind of, it's like, okay, so what? This isn't about you at all then. And even just the thing with the two witnesses we had today, I just kind of was, this doesn't feel like it's the epic case I expected it to be, to match the through the roof stakes that have been established in the investigation. So I guess there's that, I suppose. And also, I feel like the ground for which Kazuma transitioned into, like once we started talking about the prison, that's like, then it started to get really interesting, and we wanted to keep on talking. But I feel like the ground at which they transitioned between the main case and like the main mystery of that into the prison, it's like that was a really sudden transition. It's like, tell me about the prison now. It's like, okay, wow, we jumped ahead very far in this conversation. I feel like we skipped a few steps in the logical progression of events here, but okay. But you know, looking past that, the mystery of what happened in the prison itself. So he jumped out a window. Like that's what he seemed to imply, is that he jumped out the window to try to kill himself, I assume. What is happening? I don't know what the hell's happening anymore. I'm still kind of underwhelmed by the main mystery itself and what's going on with the two, with like the Redheaded League or whatever. But the what happened at Barclay Prison, that's what I'm interested in right now. So I'm hoping we get more on that next time. We'll see. We'll again, it's still early game. We'll see where this goes. So that'll be it for now. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. I hope to catch you all tomorrow for some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Goodbye.